My last couple of instructions are for lesson 110. You need to do Math Journal page 26 and then correct it back in the book. And that is the page I am showing you here. When you are finished with that, if the book is busy, the answers are now here. So you can correct them on there, but if you get any wrong, make sure you're walking back and talking to myself or Mrs. Voorhees or the para so that you know what you're doing wrong, so you know what to do on the assessment. And the final thing you need to do for this lesson is you need to get Math Masters page 37 out of your file, and you need to do this conversion on snake lengths. And it says if 1 foot equals how many inches, you should go up here and look. 1 foot, here it says feet, how many inches, bottom number is 12. When you finish this page, go ahead and check it on the next page, but turn it in to me so I can see how many you got correct and how many you had wrong. So pause it now, do your page 37 Math Masters page. It's a loose leaf page in your file before you go on to check your answers. And now this is the page that has your answers. If there's something you didn't understand, please come back to me and say something so that I have time to talk to you about what you did wrong. So here are your answers for the stop. Remember, you can pause this tape at any time to look them over. And here is your answers for the bottom. You can stop and pause the tape again at any time to look these over. Now I am moving on to 111. I'm sorry, I accidentally erased out of it, so I'm going to have to log back in. I didn't really mean to do that, but I'll do it here quickly. Lesson 111 is all about points, line segments, lines, and rays. So what's the focus? It's going to be that you can list places where geometry can be found, that you can look in our classroom for geometric shapes and patterns and identify parallel lines, line segments, and rays and figures. But first, let's start with our mental math and fluency. Listen while I read this aloud. It says 2,638. So even though the plus signs are in there, the plus is just telling us to combine those numbers to make the number 2,638. So look at the next set of numbers. Hopefully you're realizing that it's 4,540, and that's exactly how we write it, 4,540. And the final one, 7,025. Notice there are not any hundreds. So in the hundreds place, we would put a 0. So we would write 7,025 as 7025. Read student reference book pages 224 and 225 with me. And then I want you to list 3 places where geometry can be found in our world. So you need to pause the tape now and go get a student reference book page so that you can follow along with me as I read. Pause it now and go grab it. Hopefully you're back and you're on page 224. And at the top it says geometry in our world. The world is filled with geometry. There are angles, segments, lines, and curves everywhere you look. There are two-dimensional and three-dimensional shapes of every type. Many wonderful geometric patterns can be seen in nature. You can find patterns in flowers, spider webs, leaves, seashells, even your own face and body. The ideas of geometry are also found in things people would create. Think of the games you play. Checkers is played with round pieces. The game board is covered with squares. Basketball and tennis are played with spheres. They are played on rectangular courts that are painted with straight and curved lines. The next time you play or watch a game, notice how geometry is important to the way the game is played. The places we live in are built from plans that use geometry. Buildings almost always have rectangular rooms. Outside walls and roofs often include sections that have triangular shapes. Archways are curved and are often shaped like semicircles, which are half circles. Staircases may be straight or spiral. Buildings and rooms are often decorated with beautiful patterns. You see these decorations on doors and windows, on walls, floors, and ceilings, and on railings of staircases. The clothes people wear are often decorated with geometric shapes. So are the things they use every day. Everywhere in the world, people create things using geometric patterns. Examples again include quilts, tiles, baskets, and pottery. Some patterns are shown here. Look at them, and which are your favorites? I want you to make a practice of noticing geometric shapes around you. Pay attention to bridges and buildings and other structures. Look at the ways in which simple shapes such as triangles, rectangles, and circles are combined. Notice interesting designs and share these with your classmates or with myself. So in this section, you will learn about lines, angles, geometric shapes, and symmetry. As you learn, try to find examples of these geometric figures around you. So now identifying points, lines, segments, lines, and rays. Look around our classroom and you can see there are line segments on our walls. You can notice circular shapes with our clocks. Look at our windows. They're rectangular shapes. And so are the green cupboard doors in the back of the room. But the shorter ones on top, 4 of them are squares. Look at the different shapes of the rectangular drawers that are yellow with the red handles on the bottom, over by my file cabinet. Notice how long and slender they are versus some of the other rectangular shapes that are in our classroom. Our shelving at the back of the room is a shape. They're rectangles also. Your desks are rectangular in shape. Everything, our fans, our books, are a shape. Points. Points are usually named using capital letters, and they're represented of dots. So, this would be a point. A line segment. A line segment is a line that has 2 end points because that's where it ends. So you have a point on one end. The line goes straight across. You have a point on the other end. That's an end point. That's an end point. So this we normally would call our endpoints A and B. And that's how we'd label them. And if I asked you, what could we name that line segment? Well, you would draw this short line segment simple, and it could be called line segment AB. Now remember again, this represents a line segment. It could be line segment BA. It could go either way. Although these are 2 ways of naming a line segment by its endpoints, both names refer to the same segment, just this line. And don't forget that the endpoints are what you're seeing here on the end of that line segment. So let's take a look. Parallel lines. It's going to be a little difficult for me to draw parallel lines, but I want to make sure that you first understand that lines are different than line segments. Lines go on, and they have arrows on the ends. It's kind of like that lamb chop song that goes, "This is the song that never ends." Only that's how I remember what lines are, because lines are, "This is the line that never ends. Yes, it goes on and on, my friends." So remember, if it goes on, it needs to have arrows on the end. Parallel lines mean that there's two lines that are never, ever going to intersect. Sorry for my drawing, but they usually are side by side. If you look at our room, you'll notice on our walls, the little square shapes have parallel lines that go horizontal, and they also have lines that go vertical. You're going to want to draw these more accurately with a ruler than you are going to want to freestyle them like I'm doing here, because they may not truly be parallel with the way I've drawn them. I'm sorry again. And again, I'm not doing so well here. Sorry about that. Let me go back to this. And intersect. Think of an intersection. Intersection is when you have two lines that are going to cross over one another. So here's a line, and notice, remember, our lines have arrows. And if I would draw a line underneath here, you can tell that this line is soon to intersect this other line right here. Now it could be line segments. If you have a line segment, and look at segments, I mean they have endpoints, a line segment could intersect it if it was drawn as so. They intersect right here in the middle. Line segments are straight and thin. It has a beginning and an end, and its length can be measured. So draw and label line segment RT. Remember, it's not going to always give you this. You need to make sure that when you see this up top, you know that means line segment. Hopefully you got out a straight edge or a ruler and drew a completely perfectly straight line. You put your endpoints on the ends, since it's a line segment, and you labeled them R, T. So what is another name for line segment RT? Well, line segment TR. So go to page 27 in your math journal and practice drawing line segments and lines. Remember, if you forget what they are, you can always go back into what I've already taught you, rewatch the video, look at the examples I've given you to help you to finish this page. Pause the tape now and do this page. Now that you've come back, if you have any questions, remember to come back and ask me, or you can check your answers here in the book.